Hello everybody and welcome back. We are in the regular command room today, playing some Pauper EDH against some not Pauper EDH. And this is actually a pre-recorded game. I was just, kind of goofing off last night and was wondering, I wonder if Zada is still bugged online. It's been a long time since I've tried playing her, and I haven't been able to I haven't seen anything about it getting fixed or whatnot. And it turns out she was. Not only that, I actually just completely ran over everybody this match. So I kind of wanted to show that off, kind of flex a little bit. So we are, in the replay room here, going up against Athreos, God of Passage. 3 mana 5/4 indestructible, but it isn't a creature unless your devotion to white and black is less than 7. And more importantly, whenever another creature you own dies, return it to your hand unless target opponent pays 3 life. And that will come up a few times. This person is playing a Shadowborn Apostle deck, and so they can get back demons over and over again. We've got and these two I was actually quite familiar with, because I have played against these commanders quite a bit in the past with my friends. So we have Oloro, Ageless Ascetic, 6 mana 4/5. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 2 life. Whenever you do gain life, you can pay 1. If you do, you draw a card, and each opponent loses 1 life. And he also has the same ability as the first ability, but he does it in the command zone, which is pretty busted. Really, really good card. Lastly, we've got Riku of 2 Reflections, 5 mana, Teamer, 2/2. He can double your instants or sorceries if you pay blue and red, and he can make a token of a creature that's coming into play under your control if you pay green and blue. So he's a very, very powerful commander. You'll see me kind of hating on this guy a lot, and this is from personal experience. If you let the Riku player ramp and then play his commander and then untap with the commander, you usually die. So you'll see me kind of repeatedly hating on Riku. And same with Oloro, Ageless Ascetic. Because I'm so used to playing against this guy, when you see him in the command zone, he's your first target in terms of who to attack first. And this will ring true in this game especially. I wasn't particularly afraid of Athreos. I have played against him a little bit, but I wasn't too familiar with the abilities and stuff, because I would play against this in tiny leaders a little bit, and a format that I think is really underrated and should be played a lot more than it is. So yeah, Athreos card I'm a little bit familiar with, but not too much. So we are on Zada, Hedron Grinder, Goblin Ally, 4 mana 3/3. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets only Zada, you get to copy it for each other creature you control, which is really, really good. So it makes things like any pump effect suddenly affects your entire team. But more importantly, there are cards in here that have some insignificant ability, but also have draw a card on them. So if you have 5 creatures with Zada, you cast that card on Zada, it replicates 4 more times, and then you get to draw 5 cards instead of just 1. So she turns into this huge draw engine for the whole deck, as well as being kind of a finisher. So she's a really, really powerful general to have, especially in PDH. Really, really nice. Okay, so why don't we get this started? As you can see, I chatted quite a bit with my opponent here. We're keeping opponent here goes first and misreads their card right away. You can see they were kind of upset about that. Oop, right here. They played their Orzhov bounce land first and then basically gave up their turn 1 spot here. And our opponent goes right away with Ancient Tomb and Prismatic Lens, so already they are quite the target. I draw Sparksmith and go ahead and play my Intimidator Initiate. Opponent goes with Mortuary Mire, gets back the Shadowborn Apostle that they had in their graveyard, and just goes ahead and passes the turn. Opponent here is going to keep on going off. They've got a Sun Droplet, which interacts really well with Ancient Tomb, doesn't it? And Our opponent over here is just ramping out. We go for Crew and Striker to try and maximize our damage. I'm attacking Camper Dave, the Alluro player here, but it doesn't really matter because they have Sun Droplet. I mean, I guess I could technically have attacked anybody else, but I just kind of wanted to send a message at this point. It's not, 1 damage is not likely to make a big difference in Commander. But yeah, next turn we're going to start getting in for a lot more damage with Raid Bombardment and our Crew and Striker and Intimidator Initiate, getting in for 5 a turn, so that's getting a little bit better. And yeah, he's going to keep on ramping. I think he's even got another ramp spell on top of this. Yeah, there goes Sakura Tribe Elder. Yeah, really, really nice. So yeah, I think for our turn, all we do is just play our mountain and go Raid Bombardment. Yeah, the annoying part of this Intimidator Initiate is that it has to trigger on everybody's red cards, which can be a little annoying, but especially when you don't have any mana, you can't really pay for it. So why are you asking me? Anyway, so yeah, I'm just attacking Camper Dave here, but you'll see even with all of us attacking him with Sun Droplet and Alluro, we're only dealing him like little nuggets of damage over the course of a turn cycle. So it's quite it's gonna be quite annoying to play against Alluro, which is why you have to attack them first and kind of get them out of the way. And he just passes with the search for his Kanta. Again, like our Camper Dave opponent here is the one kind of driving the game right now, even if it doesn't look like it. Riku's getting ready to do some crazy shenanigans with Mimic Vat. Luckily, it doesn't last very long because our Athrio's opponent's got a Vindicate. I think here all I do is play Sparksmith. Yeah. And I make the Sakura Tribe Elder unable to block, but I'm just going to go ahead and attack Camper Dave anyway. The Crew and Striker has kind of a non-bow with the Rainbow Bardent, where if you play a creature, she is now out of range of the Ray Bombardment, but it basically still ends up being the same amount of damage. Yeah, so there's the Vindicate, and opponent passes. Again, they're 1 land drop behind. Not a huge deal, but they could be at 5 mana instead of 4. There's Greater Oromancy, which is scary. You know things are going to get a little freaky when our opponent's playing stuff like that. Opponent plays their Riku, but we've got Sparksmith and 2 goblins in play, so me knowing the power of Riku, this is not going to survive unless he kills my Sparksmith, which he doesn't. So I'll gladly take the 2 damage to kill the Riku here. And Otherworldly Outburst is the card here. We're still looking for one of those card draw spells that I was talking about at the beginning. We don't find it until very, very late, but in any case, we just tap out after killing this guy and attacking Camper Dave. Opponent can replay Riku, but they're not quite close to that just yet. Opponent plays Teysa. I gotta read Teysa properly. It's a Panharmonicon for death triggers, right? If a creature dying causes a trigger... So I thought that our opponent, my trap card, could use it with Shadow when possible. It actually doesn't work that way. It's only for triggered abilities, not activated abilities, right? So I was kind of a goober here. Yep. Oh, it's like repeating the... That's interesting. I didn't know the text did that. That was weird because it showed up with all the text and now it looks like it's starting over. Let's see. I'm misreading his cards, which happens a few times across this. I was not too into it. Deluvian Primordial, not doing too much except getting the Vindicate. That'll vindicate poor Riku, killing the 1/1 Sparksmith. I don't know if that was the best play. I would have probably killed the Raid Bombardment or something, but I guess he was very vindictive. In any case, I decided to go for Falter, just to be able to get an extra Empty the Warrens, but silly me, I don't attack. I attack before playing the Empty the Warrens for some reason. I don't know why I did that when I could have gotten in for, an extra bunch of damage here, but I don't. I could have had, 1, 2, 3, 4. This could have been a 6-1, right? So, too bad. Missed out on quite a bit of damage. And it was kind of a risk here to go for that play, wasting my Falter to get an extra 2 goblins. I thought it was worth it, but obviously there are some risks because I'm not leaving up Otherworldly Outburst or Zada or anything like that, and I'm kind of opening myself up to a board wipe, which would leave me with absolutely nothing in play. But at this point, I was going to kind of getting the vibe that this game was going to get out of control, and I needed a way to kind of put pressure on Camper Dave, and lo and behold, Divine Intervention. Maybe you've never seen this card before. It's something I've had on my radar for a long time. 8 mana enchantment. It comes into play with 2 intervention counters on it, and then you remove one each upkeep. When you remove the last one, the game is a draw. You don't win, you don't lose. The game is a draw. And so I start to freak out, thinking, oh my god, I've been attacking this entire game. He's at 37. I do have a big board here. He is tapped out, so I will likely be able to deal him, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13 damage next turn. But if my other opponents don't also start beating on him, we're never going to be able to kill him in 2 turns and have the game just end in a boring draw. Anyway, we'll get to see what happens because it's really fun. So now what happens here is our opponent is very much incentivized to have a board wipe if they want to survive. Which means that I'm very much incentivized to play Zada because I have Otherworldly Outburst. Don't mind my banter over here. So obviously everyone's now on Camper Dave trying to kill him. It's pretty difficult. I just draw a basic mountain, it's kind of boring. But I play my Zada. I can make Riku unable to block. There's no point really. And then just swing everything at Camper Dave. Holding up this Otherworldly Outburst, you'll see I asked if anybody had a board wipe so that I could actually have more damage to be able to kill Camper Dave, but it ended up coming from him himself, so. Ooh, Ob Nixilis comes out. Very, very nice card. It's going to get real big. So there's the Sun Droplet. There's the Oloro. Search. And Divine, down to 1 counter, they win, or they draw the game at the next upkeep. And then here's the Supreme Verdict, and I just snap off this Otherworldly Outburst. Which means that all of my creatures turn into 3/2 Eldrazi Horrors, which is amazing. Zada, of course, doesn't count because she goes back to my command zone. So I don't get a 3/2, but I still get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Which kills Camper Dave if blank 1432 here attacks as well. Now everybody has to stack their triggers. I bet our Oloro opponent wasn't expecting Otherworldly Outburst. Man. But after this, I am completely out of gas. I do have quite a few draw spells to play, but I haven't drawn them this game. Opponent goes up to 15. And the opponent just scoops because I've got enough damage to kill him over here. He would have been at 17 and I have 18 damage. Which is good for me because now that means that I can concentrate on killing these guys. There's Fisher off the top deck to kill Riku the second time. He's getting really expensive. And right now I'm just kind of splitting the damage and then passing priority. Smothering Tithe comes out to play. At this point, it's pretty late in the game, but since I have no action, I'm just going to be able to pay for these Smothering Tithe triggers and stuff. Opponent goes with Riku. This time I have nothing to deal with it. This Fisher was a very good card. So yeah, so I pay for the first Smothering Tithe for my draw step. What I like about Smothering Tithe actually is that you get to see what card you draw before you pay for the trigger. So I get to see whether I feel like paying for it or not. And in this case, so I drew my Forgotten Cave, I decided to pay for it, I cycled Forgotten Cave, drew another mountain, so I paid for it again, and then just passed. And then I'm going to do the same attack as before. And because I'm winning on life by a good margin, and my life doesn't really matter all that much, I just go ahead and attack my trap card. I'm actually going to pay for Athreos' life gain here, the 3 mana per thing. So I'm actually going to lose 9 life so that he doesn't get his Apostles back, which is, I imagine, not something that you see very often, but in this scenario it works out really well. So Ob Nixilis is back thanks to Athreos. Smothering Tithe, he gets more treasures. And now I assume that we're dead because Riku survived and they untapped with 11 mana. But they end up just going with a Phyrexian Metamorph, which is not great because then they get 2 Ob Nixilis here, thanks to Mirror Gallery. Here I am not going to pay for it because I drew Temur Battle Rage, which almost lets me kill our Riku opponent here. So I go for Zada. I have exactly the right amount of mana. He double blocks, and I've got another, 18 damage here on top of killing both of his Ob Nixilis guys. So he goes down to 4 life. This guy's Ob Nixilis gets big. I got 3 Eldrazi Horrors left. Opponent plays Thrumming Stone, and then kills blank. And then it leaves me with, we're both in top deck mode, but I have a lot more power on the board than this guy, with quite a bit more life as well. I draw Goblin Chirurgien, and I do end up drawing Stun here, which is excellent. Stun makes it so a creature can't block, but you play it on Zada so that you can copy it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, 5 creatures, and then you draw 5 cards. Your creatures can't block, but you don't really care. So I get to draw 5 cards. Opponent drew a land for the turn, so they didn't win off of the Thrumming Stone, Shadowborn Apostle. I draw Titan Strength and Crimson Wisps. Now here what I should have done, I think, is go for Titan Strength first, before all the other triggers resolve, so that I can scry. Because I ended up drawing a ton more lands. So what I really should have done was go for Titan Strength, and that would have at least gotten this mountain out of the way. I would have drawn Renegade Tactics, and I just proceed to draw 1, 2, 3, 4 lands in a row. But luckily I did have this Renegade Tactics, but at this point I do realize, oh yeah, Titan Strength scries, and I scry 3 more lands. There's Fist of the Anvil, so I know my opponent's super dead. So I go for another Renegade Tactics to draw the Fist of the Anvil, even though my guys are still very, very big. I did have Smoldering Crater that could have cycled as well. And I do have Goblin Grenade, which is a common, but only in alliances. So it's not a common online, but I still play it. It's my secret. And I just attack here, and I've got Sure Strike and Fist of the Anvil, which turns all of my 6/3s into 13 4s? No, 13 3s. And then this is a 10/3, so that's 4 times 3, that's 62 damage. And they get to kill Ob Nixilis because of the first strike, so my opponent's very dead at -20. So that was I got kind of lucky drawing that card draw spell just at the right time, and my opponent whiffing on Shadowborn Apostle at the right time. But we had to fight through a lot. I killed 3 opponents with nothing but commons, and my opponents had really good kind of mid-tier commanders. So just goes to show the power of Zada, even with just commons. It's so good, so good. And imagine this against other Pauper EDHs where there aren't any board wipes, or there are very, very few of them. Something like Otherworldly Outburst is nice, but it's not always necessary. You use it more of as a combat trick to kind of keep your board alive, really, but there are very few board wipes in Pauper, so it becomes a little bit less important to have this card, whereas here I wouldn't have won if I didn't have this card in my hand. I would have just been stuck with nothing left on the board. Instead I had a bunch of 3/2s that turned into massive 13 3s with first strike and haste. So yeah, really, really important to have something like that when you're playing against non-Pauper decks. But against Pauper decks, Zada just kind of draws you tons of cards, builds up a huge board, and then just wins out of nowhere. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you guys like this format a lot better, because it is shorter for me to do pre-recorded games, but you do miss out on some of my reactions and things and kind of the live aspect that we go through, which has some value to it as well, then I can definitely go back to that. But this is just more concise and easier to watch, I guess, if you will. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and we will see you next time.